The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and
He missed the complete. It's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Welcome to DIYSim.com, your source for your entire do-it-yourself simulator building experience. Whether your goal is to build a full-motion flight simulation cockpit with all 6 degrees of freedom, or find plans to build a full-motion racing simulation cockpit with anywhere from 1 degree of freedom all the way up to 6, DIY Sim has the products, plans, and resources to help you make it happen. Our DIY Sim brand is backed by one of the most innovative sim-building organizations in the world. Simcraft creates driver, in-the-loop simulators with proper kinetics for motion simulation, a technology that is unique to Simcraft and which accurately recreates high-speed vehicle dynamics. Simcraft simulator systems enable drivers to develop and enhance their car control skills efficiently and effectively, any track, any car, any day, all day. DIYSim.com has it all. Please start and finish your sim building experiences with us.
Tonight, the drivers of the VSRA will take the Daytona prototypes to the track of their namesake. Quite literally built for this course, they will have to extricate the maximum potential out of these machines if they hope to come out on top at this fast, high-banked roval. But only one can claim the top step of the podium, and today we'll see who it is as we get ready to watch round 3 of the DIYSim.com American Road Tour live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak. Joining me in the booth tonight are Ayrton Ellis and Sean Ambrose. Our cameras have been provided by Dougie Beard and are directed by Kevin Brown. Sean, this place must be getting pretty familiar to you since you were here commentating on a race here just a couple nights ago. Why don't you tell us a bit about the road course version?
Yeah, hey, thank you, Joe, and welcome everybody to Daytona International Speedway here for a little bit of night road course racing. The oval configuration is 2.5 miles. The road course, the full road course, is 3.56 miles, or 5.729 kilometers, with however you roll with that. There are 12 gut-wrenching turns on this track, such turns as the International Horseshoe, the Western Horseshoe, and the famous bus stop on the backstretch. It's a 45-minute timed race, and which means we'll race for 45 minutes, and whoever's at the front at the end of 45 minutes is your winner. And should be an exciting run tonight.
Absolutely. Certainly going to test these guys with the high top speeds that they have around here. Let's hop over to the championship, though, and after 2 rounds completed, Ayrton, what are we looking at?
Well, 2 rounds completed. It is pretty close at the moment. Anderson Moda is on top with 123 points. Only 4 points back is Daniel Santos. And then we have a 3-way tie for 3rd place, 19 points back. And that's Alex Palau, Bruno Rossetto, and Wendell Power.
So only 19 points, as you can see on your screen, between all of the top 5 drivers. That is going to be very close as things go on. It means that there's going to be a lot of changes after this round, since no 2 drivers can get the same amount of points on track. However, as we let qualifying continue, let's hop over to a lap guide on board and see what it's like around this roval. All right, Kevin Brown is behind the wheel of the GSRC DP, so let's do a lap around Daytona. We'll cross the start-finish line at the tri-oval, then dive into the infield. Turn 1 has the fastest turn entry on the course. You're also coming off the banking, and it's a curved braking zone, so you're hit with the hard stuff straight away. As you exit, you've got this slight chicane, which is flat out, and then you head into the International Horseshoe. If you've got a run on your competitor, it is possible to throw one up the inside and make a pass. As you come out, you want to use every bit of pavement, including the access road on your left that offers room to drift wide. From there, you bring the car to the right, and your foot is going to be all the way to the floor through the infield kink. But this dumps you directly into the Western Horseshoe. It tightens at the center, so hitting the apex is always a tricky proposition. Passing is possible, but if it was me, I'd wait until later in the lap. Now we're going to come up to turn 6, which will test your prowess on throttle control during corner exit. You see, this is where you re-enter the oval, so you won't be lifting for quite a while. Guys who get greedy and spin the tires will not only lose time, but might find themselves staring at the banking from the grass, wondering what went wrong. But now that we're on the banking, the draft will come into play, and you'll find guys looking for passes heading into the bus stop. This is not always the smartest thing. If you're side by side, you'll slow both of you down and risk contact. I've witnessed many races go sour when someone got impatient. The best approach here is focusing on getting the best launch possible out of the chicane and then draft past your opponent once you get back onto the banking. And honestly, you're going to see that happen all day long with guys swapping spots using the slipstream. In the end though, the only lap that you need to lead is the last one, and if the racing is close, it could come down to who is in second at the bus stop. One last note before we finish, watch out for pit entry. Practicing braking to the speed limit will pay dividends later on. But that is a lap around Daytona. And as we watch Kyle Potts work on his next lap on qualifying, he is one of the few Americans that is doing decently. Or I shouldn't say Americans, I should say U.S. drivers, since South Americans are, of course, still technically Americans. But, excuse me, North American drivers, I guess we should say. Kyle Potts is one of the guys that is doing pretty well so far, both in the championship and getting decent finishes up there. Another things that we need to mention, of course, is the sponsor of this series, DIYSim.com. They do a lot to keep this championship alive, including prizes each race. One of them is the Lucky Dog Award, and that goes to 3 random drivers. Last time that was Matt Malone, Bruno Rossetto, and Wendell Pera, who each got $5. Then, of course, there's the Hard Charger Award given to the driver that earns the most spots from their qualifying position at the finish. Last time that was Logan Knapp, 21 spots to finish 12th. Incredible stuff from Logan. And of course, the Lead Lap Clean Award is for the driver with the fewest incident points that finishes highest up in the case of a tie. And in this case, there was no way to beat the driver that finished with fewest, and that was Daniel Santos, who won last week, had 0 incidents. So a completely flawless performance from Daniel to get both that award. He gets $2 for that. Same thing with the Hard Charger, $2 from him from DIYSim.com. Don't forget to check that website out for all their goods. So as we have about, looks like 6 minutes left to go in our qualifying, let's talk about how this season has started to develop a little bit, Ayrton. The racing is so much more rough than we saw in the previous season in the BMW.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been some spectacular battles already so far in just 2 races. I mean, the race, last race between Frank Phillips, Alex Palau, and Kyle Potts that lasted for 20 minutes or so was extremely exciting and very close between the 3. And also the battle for a lead in the first race at Homestead between Wendell Pera and Anderson Moda, which unfortunately ended in a crash. But it just shows throughout the beginning and end of the race there's been a lot of action, and these guys race really hard and clean.
Well, I was going to say that the clean has been a little bit different to last season, where there's been a lot of banging of doors, banging of wheels, and drivers making contact with one another, which we didn't see a whole lot of in the previous season. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out here, which is a very wide open track, so there should be room. Although I know we were talking a bit with our director before, Sean, how the fixed setup means that these guys can brake very late into turn 1, and I wonder if that's going to cause maybe a few over-ambitious moves.
Boy, it certainly could. You're carrying a lot of speed into that first turn coming through the tri-oval there, and it will be interesting to see how late these guys decide to brake going into that. Could be some trouble there this evening. Could be some trouble in the bus stop as well. You know, we get in that back stretch. You carry a lot of speed down that back stretch, and this downforce package could provide some pretty interesting racing through that bus stop as they get back up into turn 3 and head through turn 4 back onto that tri-oval.
One driver in particular that is looking to avoid contact this time would be Alex Palau, currently sitting 3rd in the points. Alex said that he was pushed off track on lap 1 at the hairpin at Sebring the other week, and didn't get a chance to go back and look at it. I did watch the broadcast, and it was very difficult to tell on there. But regardless, it was a bit of a wasted opportunity in a way, since he started on pole, Ayrton. And I have to wonder if maybe he's going to try and make up for that this week and see if he can get himself back in the hunt.
Yeah, both races, in fact, Alex Blau has started in the top 3 and finished, I think, 5th place and 7th place. So, I mean, he's been involved in incidents in both races so far, so I think he really has to just focus on trying to stay out of trouble, because his speed is he's definitely fast enough to keep up with these top guys and compete for the win.
Well, right now he is sitting 5th in qualifying, although that is provisional. There are a few guys that are finishing their laps. I'm looking around. I see Omer Alcala is on lap 3 there, and let's see. I thought I saw someone on lap 0, actually. No, it was lap 1 for Ruben Velasco. So Ruben is waiting a bit long. Now, Ruben is a former champion in this series in the VSRA, so he is looking to also try and make up for what's a poor start to the season. He missed race 1, but he has been back both at Sebring, and he's here today, obviously, with him out there on track. You can see him heading into the Western Horseshoe. So we'll see what he'll have for these guys, today as he puts his lap in. We're going to wait until he gets a little bit closer to try and decide or try and announce what the qualifying results. However, you can see them up there on your screen and follow as it develops. So keep an eye on that and see how that goes. So I have to ask, Ayrton, you know, we're getting a little bit better sense now of where these guys stand, because we wondered, with this being such a different car from the BMW, you know, if this was going to shake things up. I mean, who are you pinning right now for both the race win and potentially later on the championship? Who do you think is looking strong?
I think it's, I mean, maybe for the race win, but I think it's very hard to predict for the championship, because we've seen, I mean, there's 5 or 6 guys that could all fight for a win for a race. And some of them have really showed some inconsistency. Some of them have had some bad luck. So I think, I mean, we've seen the fastest guys in the races that won races have mistakes, such as Daniel Santos. He won last week at Sebring, but he had a big mistake at Homestead, like spinning multiple times after a pit stop. So I think this championship is going to be a lot about making the least amount of mistakes. And so far, the person I think has really cut down on those mistakes is Anderson Moda. First race he won through consistency. In the second race, he didn't really have that many offs. I think he only had like about 3 incidents and finished 3rd. So I think he's the most consistent at the moment.
And that consistency does tend to pay off in championship runs. And you reminded me of the excuse me, I said you reminded me of something, and then my brain completely left me for a moment. But yeah, as we've got, let's see, about just under a minute left, so I think this should be Ruben Velasco's last lap. He's only going to get 2 qualifying laps, and interestingly, he started way too late in this session, and he is going to be well down the order if he does not improve it this time around, because he's sitting 11th at the moment, just off the order on your screen that you're seeing. But anyways, so Sean, I know you actually have some personal contact with people who have experience driving the real DPs, and what do you think these guys are going to have to be worrying about out on the track today? What are some of the difficulties in driving this car?
Well, you've got a lot of power under your seat there, a lot of torque. It's easy to get that thing sideways coming off the turn if you get to the throttle a little bit too quick. So, you know, you're going to want to make sure you get that car settled in through the turns, and you know, just practice a little bit of throttle management when you're getting back on that thing. And because if you don't, you're going to wind up sideways in the dirt, up in the wall, in front of somebody, into somebody, and you know, that could just, this is a big field, so you know, you're really going to hope that guys can keep these first couple laps until they spread out a little bit, that they can stay in line and be, you know, practice a little bit of caution around each other and give a little space, because you know, there could be an early incident that takes out a lot of cars, and you don't want that with just a 45-minute race. It's pretty much a dash for the cash here, as they would say.
Well, right now the dash for the pole has been settled, and you can see the cars gridding up, and it looks like we have a bit of a surprise. Bruno Rossetto is sitting on pole, and he has not qualified higher than 12th this season, as I'm hearing from Ayrton. as far as stats go. So Bruno with a great performance. This was solo qualifying, so he didn't have the advantage of draft. Anderson Moda is sitting on the outside of the front row with Daniel Santos starting in third. Then outside of row 2, it's Wendell Para, followed by Alex Palau starting in 5th, and Derek Waller in 6th. After that, it's Matthew Thill starting 7th, and Ricardo Inacio starting in 8th. Kyle Potts starts in 9th, and then John LeBaff rounds out the top 10, Ayrton.
Then in 11th is Ruben Velasco, a little lower than we're used to seeing him. Clint Myers is in 12th place alongside him, and Matt Malone in 13th. Jonathan Scarallo in 14th. Romer Alcala in 15th. Guillermo Leite in 16th. Scott Power in 17th. Mark Robertson 18th. Joseph Anderson in 19th. And Brian Shanahan in 20th. Sean?
Yeah, and in 21st, we've got Donnie Leonard in the number 26. In 22nd, the number 9, Lee McGovern. In 23rd, Michael Gorleski. And 24th, Marcio Rezin. And 25th, Patrick Wynn. In 26th, Hiro Kanaya. In 27th, in the number 75 machine of Lance Snyder. And rounding out the field in 28th, the number 66 of John Kelly.
And that rounds out our fields. And unfortunately, with Bill not able to be here today, I'm sad that we won't have the usual call of how high is Hiro Kanaya going to get today. So maybe he'll have to tweet us from afar and tell us what his prediction is. But my brain actually did manage to come back to me for a moment, and I remembered the point that Ayrton reminded me of. In race 1, we saw a few drivers make a strategical error, only took 2 tires, and that, in fact, 2 front tires, and that proved to be a crucial mistake and made the car extremely difficult to drive. Since then, the drivers seem to have gotten on top of their pit stops and figure out what to do. However, that doesn't take away the fact that cold tires make these cars a little bit tricky. Like Sean was saying earlier, all the power on there, you have to have them nice, warmed up, and with tons of grip.
Yeah, you're definitely going to want that grip here, and it is going to take a couple of laps to get some good heat in those tires, because we're starting cold here. You know, you've got the warm-up lap around here to kind of get the thing warmed up a little bit, but it's still not enough. So, yeah, as we said before, throttle management here on these opening laps is going to be very important.
And another point on that, too, is that the pit exit is very, very narrow. So when they're coming out on cold tires, they have to tiptoe just a little bit, make sure that they do not throw away what could be a good finish into the pit wall exit. So as we come on the back stretch, we are about half a lap away from going live on the green here. And as I said, with the pit stops, they will have at least 1 pit stop. Any more than that, then you've got a very strange strategy. But as this series has a fixed setup, you cannot make the entire race on the fuel that they are given. So, even though I know you're new here, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, Sean. Who is your pick for today?
You know, I'm going to go with Alex Blau. You know, I think he's got... he's driven to make up from that incident in the last race. I think a win is important to him at this point, and you know, he kind of wants to make up for the wrongdoings there at Sebring, and I look for him to be up front at the end of this race tonight.
We'll have to wait and see if he's going to do it. He's going to have to do it from 5th place. They will have the draft on their side around here, and Ayrton, I expect that there could be a few draft battles throughout the day.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm interested to see how Bruno Rossetto will be able to defend from that, because obviously it's very difficult to defend on such a long straight as this Daytona oval.
Pace car is now out of NASCAR 4 and should peel off into the pits as we watch that field with their headlights all lit up head towards the line. Pace car peels away. Bruno Rossetto has the green, and away he goes, and then some. Anderson Moda has no answers to that in line. Daniel Santos also following in 3rd, then Wendell Para, and it's a bunch of, and Kyle Potts is off at turn 1, somehow gathers it together impressively, but it looks like I'm not seeing any contact down the field. Everybody else seems to have gotten through clean.
Guys, we've got 4 cars on the pit lane already. They have come off and taken their pit already.
So a few people, we saw some unusual strategy last time. I guess a lot of guys have decided that's the way to go. Remember, Ayrton, that we saw some people get their pit stop out of the way and just run some fast laps for the rest of the race.
Yeah, we saw that a little bit last race, but I just saw Kyle Potts. He went off a little bit in the S's right before the International Horseshoe, and he managed to regain it. They have a little bit of asphalt in the middle, but I mean, he's really struggling right now. He's letting a lot of guys by, so he might have gotten a slowdown penalty or something, but I mean, he's dropped back very far. He's down in about 14th place now.
We've seen this from Kyle Potts once already. At the first round, when he had to make a recovery drive, seems like we almost always get somebody who's doing that. Just behind them, Guillermo Leite is trying to hold off Romer Alcala, and that is for 14th and 15th.
Yeah, and you know, so far we've seen these guys spread out. I mean, we've got cars all over the track right now, spread out and kind of in line. Not a lot of side-by-side racing yet. So these guys are trying to settle in, and looks like they're in for the long haul.
Alcala dropped out of that battle and has given up the position, but behind him, Scott Power has gotten a nice run through the bus stop, and that means that he is closing up, especially with that draft. You can see him in that yellow and black car pull in on the rear of that red and black DIYsim.com machine. Takes a look to the outside as they come to the tri-oval. This is going to be our first test to see people do in the braking zone with the super late braking. They're also coming up on Guillermo Leite, and they decide to back out of it going single file as they enter the corner, although a bit of a bobble from Alcala holds it together. A number of guys obviously trying to push this car to the limits already. Meanwhile, let's jump back up front where Bruno Rossetto is pulling away significantly. Ayrton, you were saying you were worried about that gap. He's got 1.8 seconds at the line.
Yeah, he got the perfect opportunity because immediately at the start of the race, Anderson Moda and Daniel Santos started battling. Daniel Santos managed to get ahead of Anderson Moda. They switched again from start finish line. Then I think they tried to make another switch into turn one. So this is just giving Bruno Rossetto the perfect opportunity. I think he's already broken the draft, and he could probably just work on this and try to get a bigger lead.
If he's got the pace, it could be critical at this point. Remember, Rossetto is in the top 5 on the points, so this could be big for him. However, Moda and Santos have only 4 points between them in the championship, with Moda currently leading the points. And right now, he is sitting behind on the track, though, so track position to Daniel Santos. And we see Power going off in the bus stop. He's definitely going to get a cut course for that one here.
No, it was actually Wendell Parra. He was
sorry.
third place position there. He was going side by side. I think it was Alex Palau into that bus stop, and there wasn't room for both of them, and he had to cut the bus stop. He's lost a lot of positions now.
Yeah, in fact, he's being passed by John LaBasse, so he's going to be down into 13th. And you'll have to excuse me, I misheard on the information I was giving on that. It was not Scott Power. So it looks like he just might be able to defend. He's staying just a nose ahead of LaBasse and holds on to the position. Just ahead of them, though, you can see a bit of a battle going on between Matt Malone and Ricardo Inacio. Malone almost squeezed off track, and Inacio comes out ahead.
Yeah, I know, guys, we talked about those cars that decided to pit when the green flag dropped. It was Kanaya and Kelly, Arizona, and Snyder all went in and now are sitting almost a minute back from the front of the field. So they've got some ground to make up, but they also know these guys in front of them have still got to pit. So they're not out of this race at all. They have plenty of time here left to make up that ground.
And for those wondering why you would want to pit so early, critically in these first laps, you tend to get slowed down because there's a lot more battles going on, like the ones we're watching here between Kyle Potts, John LaBasse, and Wendell Parra. And these guys are all running slower times. The ones who pitted and mostly running by themselves are going to be able to just rifle off fast lap after fast lap and get the maximum potential. The question is, will their tires be good enough at the end, though? So just ahead, we can see a battle going on between Clint Myers and Jonathan Scarallo heading into the bus stop, but they go single file because, as we said, it's very tricky, Sean, to try and go through there too wide.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, I'm watching Matt Malone right now. He's really trying to get up on the rear end there of Inacio, trying to make it work. And here's a great opportunity now to get in that draft and suck right up to him. And we're seeing that as they come down the front stretch here. He is coming on the outside, trying to make a move on the outside here. Going to try and get down in front of him, going through the tri-oval and make it into turn one. Let's see where they break, guys. Oh.
Malone is a nose ahead, but it looks like it's not quite enough as Ignacio outbreaks him into the corner. Some action going on behind, too, with Clint Myers and Wendell Para barely holding on as he clips the grass. And, whoa, we have a car off and John LaBaff, actually, and he gathers it back together, but he loses a spot to Kyle Potts. Action all around the track and everywhere. Ayrton, it seems like this draft is making it much more of a battle, especially the fixed setup, meaning these guys are punching a huge hole in the air.
Yeah, and I mean, at the moment, I'm looking at Ruben Velasco. He started in 12th place, and right now, he's in 4th place and passing Daniel Santos right now. So within 4 laps, he's already battling for 3rd place.
Maybe he's looking for those $2 extra in his pocket at this point. Velasco taking positions up after poor qualifying. We understand that he had internet connection issues as to why he did not go there. And he actually absolutely boxes in Daniel Santos coming up down the backstretch there. And Anderson Mota actually lets him by as the draft has allowed him to just squeak on through. So the order as they come out of the bus stop is Velasco ahead of Mota, ahead of Santos, ahead of Bilal.
Yeah, and you know, I just went to check on Bruno Rossetto because you know we couldn't see him. Well, Bruno's running away with this thing right now. As he comes to the tri-oval and across the start-finish line, he's just checking out on these guys right now.
And as they come across, Mota was marginally ahead in the lead, but he was on the outside. You can see them heading into turn 1, and he's not able to hold on to it. So Velasco will, in fact, be into second, and it is 4.5 seconds between those guys and Bruno Rossetto. So you're right, he is starting to run away. He gained almost a second last time by at the line.
Yeah, and he seems to really have a handle on this track and this setup for that matter. Wonder how much practice he got in, but he's looking really good right now.
He certainly seems to favor this track compared to previous races that we've seen him in. He is very far up there, and these guys behind him are showing no sign of letting up on this battle here. The more that they are chopping each other off, the more time they're going to be losing as a big bobble from Anderson Mota allows Daniel Santos on through as they head into NASCAR 1.
Yeah, I mean, these are the best possible conditions for Bruno Rossetto. By the time of the end of this lap, you'll have a 5-second gap within 5 laps. So this is working out really well as they have another pass from Daniel Santos trying to go around Ruben Velasco, going into the bus stop. Anderson Mota's trying to peek in as well. He managed to go right by easily. I think these guys should be a little bit careful about going too wide through the bus stop so early.
Yeah, if they were smart about this, you'd think that they would just use the slingshot and know that if they're not fully passed, or if someone has passed them, just let them go, because going side by side into any of these corners is really going to hurt them. And the slingshot is just going to increase their overall speed as a pack. And look at this pack right here with Santos and Velasco and Bilal and Mota all together, looking 2 wide, 2 deep, almost 3 wide down into turn 1. But it's Velasco who comes out ahead, still holding on to that second position. Once again, guys all slowing each other up, and just behind them, Derek Waller. We finally have an American in the mix, being in 6th place, also trying to get up amongst this.
You know, Kyle Potts had a really, really close call about a half a lap ago. He was off course, spun it, and managed to get back on and not lose really much in position. And now he's fighting for a battle with several cars in front of him. Myers, Ignacio, Scarallo, all right up in front of him. He's trying to catch him now and put a move on him.
Woof, ever so close between Scarallo and Ignacio as they try to chase down Malone, who's currently at the front of that pack. Potts trying to make up time for that early mistakes, currently sitting in 11th, it looks like. No, actually, I think he might be up to 10th here. It's the positions are changing so constantly that my timing is never actually up to date. So as they head back onto the rover, we ride on board with Potty. He is going to try and use that draft to get by Scarallo.
He's making a move to the outside, coming down the front stretch here and getting ready to head into the tri-oval. Can he pull it off and make the pass?
Oh, just
I'm sorry, they were on
through.
the back stretch.
Yeah, heading into that bus stop, and he has to let up. He decides not to try and push the issue and lets Scarallo back on through, although someone has a cut course.
That was a close call.
Scarallo has to slow down for a cut course penalty.
Yeah, and that slowdown almost cost Potts the race right there, as he almost got right into the back of him as he pulled down there in front of him.
And meanwhile, he and Inacio closing in on Malone as they come across the start-finish line. Inacio looking around the outside down into turn one, and he clearly outbrakes Malone. Can he hit the apex, though? Doesn't even give it a chance, and that means Malone is back on through, but it's not over because they're coming to the International Horseshoe, but Inacio is 2 wheels off the track, loses time. Potts tries to go around the outside. They almost touch. Potts holds onto it and goes around the outside to take the spot. Potty with an incredible recovery drive, and we're barely into the race.
Yeah, Potty's looking strong, man. He's coming up through those cars like a hot knife through butter, man.
And just behind them, contact between Clint Myers and Jonathan Scarallo. Late dive, and we got a spinner. Matt Malone also spinning, so a number of cars having problems in the same corner. Actually has to back it up to get it back together as he lets more cars by, and we're going to watch the replay. So as we head back live, it's still up front with Bruno Rossetto leading by a whole 5.5 seconds. Behind him, Ruben Velasco in second, then Anderson Moda, followed by Alex Bilao in fifth.
And Santos blew the motor in turn one. He's out of the race.
Oh, and Santos was second place in the points. So this has huge implications for Santos.
Yeah, he's sitting there on the end of pit lane right now.
And these guys do not have... Go ahead.
Sorry, he was in the middle of battling with for that third place position with Velasco and Moda, and he was just on the outside line and well downshifted. And he just blew up and spun into that inside tire barrier on the pit exit. So he was definitely out of the race, and he also clipped Velasco a little bit on the right corner. I don't think it caused any severe damage.
Well, that promotes Wendell Parra, who are watching battle with Matt Malone, or excuse me, Scott Power. And he has actually claimed the position, so he is up to 11th, and also gained positions from that blown engine earlier from Santos. So not exactly the progress that I think Parra was hoping for, Sean, but at least he's moving forward.
Yeah, at least he is. You know, I'm just checked in with our leader, Ruben Rossetto, and Bruno Rossetto, checking in with the leader right now. He's 6.5 seconds up on Ruben Velasco and continuing to widen the gap. He stays up here in this clean air. He's in good shape. Now, he is about to catch a couple of these people at the back of the pack. It won't be long before he catches up with Marcio Arizona. So we'll be interested to see how Marcio reacts to him coming up on him here pretty quick.
Indeed. And for those who are Daniel Santos fans, don't worry. He does have one drop week still. So unfortunately, that just means he can't miss any races, or else he'll have a very bad result on his hands, because Santos is going to be dead last this race. And we're getting calls on the radio from Kyle Potts asking to work together with Ricardo to try and catch up with Alex Bilao, thinking that maybe they have a chance.
Velasco's going in. Velasco's heading into the pits as Mota just made his way around him. He dropped inside, and Velasco is taking that pit now.
A number of guys deciding to pit early, which is unusual compared to what we're used to seeing in this series. We are only just under 15 minutes into the race, so we're used to seeing drivers go long, Ayrton. I guess maybe they're trying something different to see what they can maybe get out of it.
Yeah, some of these guys might be worrying a little bit about the traffic that they're in. A lot of these guys are battling a lot, and if you can get into some clean air, that should be a good opportunity to try to close some space on the other guys around you.
Well, I guess the big question now is what's Rossetto going to do now that he is, out there by himself, but he knows that a couple of these cars that were right behind him have decided to go in. When's he going to make his move to head in?
Well, he just put a lap on the car of Marcio Arizona, who has actually spun a little bit earlier and clearly got out of the way. So he doesn't have to worry about that car, at least for lapping, but he is going to have lap traffic ahead of him, and that could slow him down. It all depends, or it could even speed him up depending on if he catches them at the right time with that draft. We'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, looking at Wendell Parra, and who is he battling with now as he tries to make up for an early penalty, and that's John LeBap just ahead of him, actually. Now
Well-
heading into the bus stop. Nothing for him to do there as he's not close enough to make anything happen. However, that braking did allow Scott Power to get right up on top of him. In fact, he had a great run, and Perez going to let him by on the inside, knowing there's no point in fighting that momentum.
Well, Walker's trying to make a move on the outside here, coming into the first turn. Oh, and he just, it looks like he broke a little bit too late. He got a little washed up the track there, and looks like Anderson Mota is going to hang on to that position.
Meanwhile, it sounds like, Ayrton, you have some information on those pit stops and some changes of position there.
Yeah, Kyle Potts and Ricardo Ignacio went into pit pretty much side by side, and Ignacio managed to get about a 3.5 second faster pit stop and came out quite a few car lengths ahead of Kyle Potts, so maybe not possibly breaking the draft, I'm not sure. He might just be on the edge, but he gained position and quite a bit of time on him.
Now, the real question is, of those drivers who pitted early, where are Potts and them compared to the early pitters? I'm curious to see. So it sounds like of the people who have pitted, Velasco being one of our earliest ones, that, in fact, the earliest that did not pit on the first lap, Velasco is currently leading them, and he's got just a bit of a gap back to Kyle Potts and Ignacio.
Yeah, and right now I'm watching the teammates Mota and Bilal, and it looks like they're just going to working together, going through the turn here. They just came out of the bus stop. They're heading into 4 and get ready to come out, and looks like Bilal's going to take the inside move on his teammate there, and they're getting ready to head into 1. Let's see how this works out, guys.
I definitely think we're seeing some teammates at work here with the way they're swapping back and forth, using each other to try and maybe get a little bit more speed. And right now they've got Derek Waller just behind them. You can see as they come around turn 1 into the infield and decides not to try and pass them this time. And we're getting word that something happened to Scott Power. We're not entirely sure yet.
And Rossetto's in the pits, guys. The leader is in the pits.
So Rossetto finally elects to take his pit stop. And it looks like with Scott Power, it was possibly contact here. Yes.
He had contact in the International Horseshoe with John Labath, who
Labath
spun around and hit the wall.
Unfortunate for him. It looks like he took a hard thunk into those blue barriers. So his day is might be done because he has exited. Meanwhile, Rossetto has come out of the pits and has relinquished the lead. But where is Rossetto compared to everybody else? Let's see. He seems to be still in front of Ruben Velasco, who was our highest up before. So, in fact, by a significant gap, it looks like. So the undercut was not working for our early pitters.
Yeah, I didn't see Rossetto take any tires. I think he just came in, took fuel, and headed right back out. I did not see a tire change on that car.
So I'm wondering if warm tires are more valuable than worn tires in this case. So, or new tires, I should say. So Rossetto opting not to get himself some fresh boots as he continues on, and he's got a lapped car of Matt Malone. No, I'm sorry, no, that's not a lapped car. This is for position because Malone has not pitted. So, and he's actually just gotten on the radio to let Rossetto know that he is pitting this time, so he's not going to be in his way. In fact, he's going to give him a nice little tow before he leaves, it looks like.
Derek Waller is now into the pits. I'm going to keep an eye on him to see how close he comes to Rossetto.
Meanwhile, up front, Alex Bilal and Anderson Mota, who have yet to pit, continued on in the lead. And again, these guys are teammates. They've been using each other to try and slingshot around the faster parts of the course. So the question is this tactic, Sean, going to allow them to possibly try and jump the car they were chasing? That's a lot of seconds to run down.
Well, right now Rossetto sits about 25.5 seconds behind them. I don't think they can do a pit stop that quick. I think once they have to go in, Rossetto's going to move his way back up to the front.
I think you're right. Ignacio had a 13.7 and Potts is 17.1 of the pit times that we have written down here. So yeah, that just doesn't seem feasible for them to try and jump him at this point, unless in trying to get through some of this traffic, we see Rossetto maybe get slowed down.
Yeah,
Well-
and right now we're halfway through this thing now. We've got only about about 19 minutes left in this race right now. So, if you're gonna pit, it's probably gonna need to start thinking about it here.
Small correction, we have about 24 minutes left on the clock. You can see on your screen as these two drivers continue to head through. And now it looks like they're pitting. So Bilal and Moda are heading in for their pit stop.
Derek Waller came out quite a bit ahead of Ruben Velasco, and they were battling with each other before Velasco went in. So I've got the impression that Velasco had a fairly slow pit stop since Kyle Potts and Nasio also gained on him.
And as we watch Wendell Parra also come into the pits, that is going to get his out of the way. So we're seeing a number of the leaders finally come in. Clint Myers is also in, and Bruno Rossetto continues on and retakes the lead.
And Blau beats Mota out of the pits. Neither one of them took tires, both in for fuel only.
So as Rossetto comes along, there's still a decent gap, but not a huge one between himself and Bilal. All he has to do now, though, is just run clean laps to the end. He seems to have had the pace to keep ahead of these guys, so he could have it. Meanwhile, as I look back, Derek Waller comes out just behind Mota and Bilal, so unfortunately, he was not able to get by them as well.
Yeah,
But-
it doesn't. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say credit to Derek Waller, though, because I don't think we've seen him terribly high up in the previous races, but currently sitting in what I think should shake out to 4th place is pretty good in what is an incredibly competitive series.
Yeah, he finished 9th at Sebring and didn't race at Homestead, so we're not used to seeing him in the top 5.
As pit stops continue on to the end of the stint, since these guys can usually only make about a half an hour on this setup, that we should see just about everybody in pretty soon here at 22 minutes. So I think we should have a good idea of what the field is going to look like this time when they come by the scoring line and everything updates there. But right now, the story of the day seems to be battles and staying out of it and just making the best of your time, Sean.
Yeah, and right now, as they cycle across the line, Rossetto is back in the lead, and that decision to pit when Blau and Mota did, whereas it was the decision they needed to make, didn't have enough time to make up much ground on our new leader Rossetto.
We are on board with Bilal looking back over the rear spoiler. And just to give you an update as they head through the infield, Bruno Rossetto is still in first, Alex Bilal in second, Anderson Mota is in third, Derek Waller fourth, and Ruben Velasco has worked his way into fifth, and those are our top 5, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Clint Myers. He's managed to get up in between Velasco and Potts, so he's had a pretty good run so far, considering that he started all the way down in 12th place.
Yeah, I kind of think our U.S. drivers are finally getting a bit on par with some of these Brazilian and South American drivers, because we've got Derek Waller, we've got Clint Myers, we've got Kyle Potts. It's finally a little bit more mixed up at the top of the field.
Hey, we all know if you got a little bit of redneck in you, baby, you can get around Daytona fast.
I guess maybe it's a little bit of an American advantage here, even though it is an American road tour, so all the tracks are around this great United States. But this certainly is one of those tracks that if you've driven it a few times, it could be a few secrets here and there, knowing how to wheel it around pretty fast. There's places that you can get those few tenths, as we watch John Kelly work his way past another car. So things are starting to settle out, though. I think we're seeing a lot less battling now that guys know that they've got the rest of the race to try and slingshot past someone.
Yeah, if Rossetto wins this, then that will be a different winner in 3 races, which just shows the different how much competition we have in this series so far. And, I mean, Daniel Santos, winner from last race, he got into an instant, and Mota, the winner from first race, if he can continues with this position, he'll have 3 top 3s in a row.
And Lance Snyder, unfortunately, was in 18th place and threw that away with a slide into the wall out of the bus stop. Also, just before that, as we were watching, we saw John Kelly get a slowdown penalty, and he was actually battling with Matthew Thill. So Thill moved himself up into the 14th position, taking advantage of that. Now we've switched to Brian Shanahan, and he is relinquishing a spot into turn 1.
Yeah, guys, Lance Snyder got a couple wheels off the track there over the berm and got into the wall.
Brian Shanahan was actually into the inside wall at turn 1 there. So a lot of drivers having trouble late in the race. And now I'm not sure, do you think the tires are coming into play here, Sean? Or are guys maybe struggling with them being worn out? Or what's going on here?
Well, I don't know. Hey, listen, it all depends on how hard you drive the car and how aggressive you are on these turns. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be some tire fall off. If you're taking care of the car, it shouldn't be much of an issue. But not watching Brian too closely, he could have been just overdriving it and, has worn those tires off pretty good at this point.
Meanwhile, we're watching that battle for second, third, and fourth as Derek Waller is on the outside of Bilal and Moda, trying to see if he can get around there as they break for turn 1, but there's nothing doing it. It looks like he's actually going to lose the other spot as Bilal sneaks up by the inside, and they have to slot in single file once again. Just to give you an update, this time by the line, 9.7 seconds between Rossetto and the pack that we're watching on our screen. As we switch to Clint Myers, trying to get by Ricardo Inacio in the International Horseshoe. Bit of a bobble coming out of that 180-degree turn, and that's going to put him at a disadvantage as Inacio tries to come back around the kink, and nothing doing there. He has to back out of it.
Yeah, Myers getting on the power there and starting to open up a little distance now between him and Inacio, setting his sights on Potty as they come through the turn there.
Yeah, and you have to give credit to Potty because, remember, he had that early problem which set him far back in the pack. Qualified 9th, he is sitting 6th. So not only has he made a recovery run, he's actually gained positions on where he started. So Kyle is once again living up to our traditional, someone's got to come from the back after an early mistake here in this series.
Yeah, I think the same could be said about Velasco, too. He was having connection issues during qualifying and had trouble getting on the track, and I think it was he qualified 11th, if I remember correctly, and he's now sitting up in 5th.
That is correct. So yeah, up to a top 5, which is more representative of his pace. I have to admit, we've seen him typically up towards the front. So as we switch back to Bilal and his teammate Moda coming into turn 1, this time they don't have a challenge from Derek Waller just behind them in 4th. We have 16 minutes left to go on the clock, so we are 2/3 of the way through this race, guys. It's starting to get down to the point where guys can start to think about battling.
Yeah, with Bilal and Moda being teammates, I feel like Derek Waller really has a disadvantage here because they can actually, Moda and Bilal can work together to secure those second and third place positions. It really depends if they decide to battle for it or if they just work together for one of them to secure it and preventing Derek Waller from trying to get either position.
And as we look at poor Lance Snyder's car with a very poor looking nose, he is currently sitting in 20th position trying to ride behind Patrick Nguyen. In fact, he's got the draft from Nguyen, but can he keep it because he has serious aero damage. Just behind him, Brian Shanahan has a huge run. He's also had some damage from running into the wall, and they all meet a stalemate as they come to the tri-oval with Nguyen drifting just a little bit high but coming back down. And it looks like Shanahan's going to try around the outside. Has he got Nguyen? No, Nguyen closes up under braking, and he has to relinquish the position as that black and yellow machine slips back into the 22nd spot.
Well, Snyder's just hanging on to it. I'm watching that car, and he looks like he's having trouble with it just a little bit with the handling on that machine, but he manages to keep that position ahead of Shanahan as they get ready to head onto the back stretch here.
And I believe actually they're heading into the Western Horseshoe, and we are hearing word about Lee McGovern catching these guys. Might be able to just drive on by, but not the case because he puts 2 wheels in the dirt, And Hiro Kanaya is looking for a spot past him, but isn't able to capitalize.
And Ruben Velasco is actually sitting in that 5th place spot. Last lap had a spin in the International Horseshoe. He's now battling with Jonathan Scarallo for 8th place, so really unfortunate result for him.
Yeah, and one last reminder that you can get a hold of us through social media. So if you want to ask us a question, tweet us at GSR channel. We'll try to answer it during the race if we can. Sometimes there's a little bit too much excitement in this series, so we will check it during the break after the finish and see if we can answer any questions. So please send us tweets at GSR channel, and we will try to answer them. So as we continue to watch Brian Shanahan, he is still sitting down in 21st position, I'm seeing, actually, as he works his way past Snyder.
Yeah, nice little battle going on back there. Obviously they're pretty far down in the field, but still a nice battle going on between these 3 cars.
Absolutely, and that's a credit to this series that guys even that far down are fighting that hard for positions. They're not looking for a whole lot of points. They want the honor of finishing higher than their competitor. And we switch to Clint Meyer, and that is for 7th position, and he is actually battling with Kyle Potts and Ricardo Inacio. These guys fighting very hard.
Yes, they are, and Potts has got no give up in him tonight, but did lose position there, so he's got a little bit of ground to make up here as we head into turn 1.
Inacio holding on in a huge bobble from Clint Myers. That gives an opportunity to Kyle Potts, but he backs out of it, waits for a better opportunity later. He could have snuck a nose in, but decided not to make a risky move. Now he looks to the inside, heading into the International Horseshoe. Almost makes contact. I don't know how they avoided each other, and squeezes past as he muscles Clint Myers out to the berm.
Ooh, we've seen that before in Rolex 24-hour races past.
And thankfully, he made it work. Go ahead, Ayrton.
Well, Clint Myers and Kyle Potts are fighting for this 5th place position, but neither of them have actually scored a top 5 so far this season. In fact, Clint Myers hasn't even scored a top 10 so far this season. His highest finish is 11th, and Kyle Potts is 8th. But we've seen some good stuff from both these guys.
Yeah, Potts has been doing decently this season, certainly been representative of his country, trying to put in a good word amidst a lot of other guys in what is a mostly U.S.-based series here. But just ahead of them, we still have that battle between Anderson Moda, Alex Bilal, and Derek Wall. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Let's switch to Jonathan Scarallo because we got 3 wide into the bus stop. That won't go. Someone's got to give, and it looks like it's Scarallo who comes out ahead amazingly, and Wendell Pera has a cut course and has to slow.
Well, guys, this work that Moda, Blau, and Waller are doing is starting to pay off just a little bit as they have started to close the gap on Rossetto just a tiny bit. I don't know if it's going to be enough to take him to the end of the race to catch him, but if Rossetto makes a mistake, they could, all 3 of them, pounce on him.
At a minute 45 laps, I don't think they can gain 9 seconds in 11 minutes. They're going to have a lot more to run him down, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I certainly agree with that. Rossetto, though, has every lap has been clean. He's running a great running a great race, and really has shown that he can run away from these guys. So, like I said, unless he bobbles or gets off course, the chances are slim at this point. They're racing for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
And they've been doing a pretty good job. They haven't been fighting too hard up here, just kind of using that draft. And even though Derek Waller has taken a look here and there, see if he can get himself, into a podium position. And right now he's dropped a bit, actually. But I'm sure he will gain that spot back as we see those teammates once again swap positions. Moda moving himself in front of Bilal and heading into the bus stop.
Yeah, I think Waller's waiting for these guys to make a mistake. And has got his eye definitely on the podium.
Behind them, Ruben Velasco and Jonathan Scarallo still battling it out. Velasco in front, and we are still actually sitting on board with Derek Waller as we watch those teammates swap once again. But a lot of battles up and down the field. There was a brief moment where everything kind of cooled down after the pit stops, but now it's started to heat up again as guys know that it is all to play for.
Yeah, Clint Myers last lap had a very hairy moment out on the exit of the International Horseshoe. Almost spun it around, had a really good save, but he's lost contact to Ignacio and Potts in front of them. In fact, they're having a battle, and Ignacio hits him and spins.
Ignacio turned around, tries to get his car going again. Nice little donut, and is able to take off, but he put some damage on that front splitter, I think. Kyle Potts might have gotten away lucky.
Yeah, Kyle got a nice boost through that turn there from Ignacio, and yeah, Ignacio's got a little bit of damage on that front end. Nice spin. Way to get it back under control.
Scarallo spun on the exit of the International Horseshoe.
And that, unfortunate, because he was looking at a top 10 there, and that is going to lose him some spots as well as we watch the replay of that spin. And I believe he actually lost the position to Wendell Para, who's going to move up to 9th. Meanwhile, John LaBaff, is he ahead of him? No, he did not lose out of the top 10 as John LaBaff is still trying to hunt him down.
I'm seeing here that Ignacio is acknowledging that, you know, he was at fault there. Sent a quick apology to his fellow driver there.
Good to see the good sportsmanship in this series. I haven't seen a whole lot of hot heads around here, despite having quite a bit of bumping on the last race, a lot of contact. And whoa, as Ignacio almost has an incident there with, I'm not sure who he's battling with. Let's see, that is Wendell Para, actually. These guys are, in fact, teammates. As you can see, Para deciding to move aside, let the car with the momentum get to the front as they head towards the front stretch here. So with about 8 minutes left to go on the clock, it is still Bruno Rossetto up front, 8.9 seconds. So a few more tenths taken off, but yeah, like we said, Sean, it's looking like too little, too late for these guys.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I think really their only chance was to, you know, get a little farther ahead before they made that pit stop, and it might have been a little bit closer. But Rossetto's shown since the drop of the green flag that he's got a little something up his sleeve at this track.
Now, here's the interesting thing as we watch Bilal, Moda, and Waller once again for second, third, and fourth. Kyle Potts is a little ways back, but if these guys start battling and start slowing each other up, it's not out of the question that Potts could move up from fifth, potentially to second, if he can catch them.
Yeah, 8 seconds back. I'm feeling these guys aren't really going to battle that much until it comes down to the last lap when they try to make those snipes at the start-finish line. Because at the moment, Bilal and Moda, they're just swapping places, using that draft slingshot themselves and trying to gain a gap. I mean, they're not losing Waller, and they're not really catching up to Rossetto in time unless Rossetto makes a mistake. So these guys, they might as well try to fight for position and plan for that last lap.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, will Waller actually try to make a move, or will he be content with a fourth place finish?
And we've got a spinner in John LaBaff in the bus stop trying to get his car turned around. He was battling with the car of Jonathan Scarallo and unfortunately lost it, but he was able to get going without contacting anything. So as we continue on, now with 6 minutes to go, getting down to the last little bits of this race, we watch Velasco, who is, oh, and we've got another spin actually. Brian Shanahan had yet another spin. Sorry, he was a little ways back. I thought that was a battle for position. Off course and returns without incident, except for that spin, I guess you could say. We have now switched to Matthew Thill. We've got a little bee's nest there of guys battling it out, it looks like. This is for 11th, 10th, and 12th position, I believe. That's Mark Robinson, Matthew Thill, and Joseph Anderson, who are all battling it out.
Yeah, well, here we go. Our leader, Bruno Rossetto, coming up on some lap traffic here. How's this going to play out? Is he just going to pick up speed? Is the lap traffic going to move out of the way as he gets past the... yeah, he's going up the track and taking the inside line there, so... looks like a clean pass, and everything is still all good for the leader.
So just ahead of him, as we watch Anderson Moda and Alex Palau continue to swap positions, Lance Snyder and Lee McGovern are actually battling for position. So a little ways up the road, if Bruno Rossetto catches them, they're not going to be as readily, compliant about moving aside, since they're fighting for position unless he catches them in the right spot. So could be interesting to see if they slow him up at all. It all depends on where he catches them on track.
I'm more interested to see how the lap traffic will affect this battle for second place, because these guys, they're going to be running side by side on that oval section, so there might be a few 3 wide sections going into the bus stop or or turn 1.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, now down to 4 minutes on the clock as we watch Clint Myers. You can go ahead. I didn't really have too terribly important there.
No, I was just saying, Rossetto might even catch a little more lap traffic before this thing is over, as he's coming up on Lance Snyder and Lee McGovern here. Is only about 5 seconds separating those guys. I don't know if he's going to get to them before this thing is over, but it could be close.
Meanwhile, we watch Clint Myers, who is riding behind Ruben Velasco, who goes very wide, re-entering the oval at turn 6. And that lost him just a little bit of time. Plus, the draft means Clint Myers is closing down as he could try and get by before the bus stop. He's got the momentum. He's going to make him go the long way around the outside. I think he has the speed, unless Velasco dares. No, he slots back in the line. He knows this fight is done. We've got maybe 2 laps to go, with Bruno Rossetto coming to the line at about 3 minutes left.
Well, Waller's in position right now to make a move on Moda here. He's trying to get up to him and under him, but it hasn't quite worked out yet. He hasn't given up, though.
He's going to get another chance, and in fact, at this point, he won't have to outbrake him into turn 1 on the last lap. All he's got to do is be close enough to pull in on that draft. But with these 3, we don't know what's going to happen, because the car ahead of him could be pulling a draft as well.
Well, there's guys moving off the track, kind of like the Red Sea parting as they come up here in their little three-way battle. It seems like the guys in front of them are just moving out of the way and getting off track if they have to.
Good driving from them. If they're not fighting anybody, they know that there's not much to gain or lose just by letting them on through. Next one in line is Patrick Nguyen. And meanwhile, we've got 2 minutes left on the clock. Where is Bruno Rossetto? Ooh, he could have one more lap even. It's going to be very tight. Or is he heading to the bus stop? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Rossetto's in the bus stop right now.
So I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong part of the track. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's out of the bus stop and up into turn 3, NASCAR turn 3, and heading into 4. Under plenty of speed here, about 155 miles an hour right now as he makes his way off turn 4.
So it will be clear that this is going to be the last lap. He's going to get a white flag this time by. So Bruno Rossetto leading the way. Last time it was 9.1 seconds. And this time, let's see if they've still been gaining or not. There's quite a bit of a gap between Anderson Moda and Alex Palau, interestingly. This time it's only 7.5 seconds. So Bruno might be easing it up, just trying to bring it home at this point.
Yeah, that lap traffic is causing a little bit of trouble for these guys as Moda goes off the track.
Yeah, Moda got all 4 wheels off the track and into the grass, and Waller trying to jump on it, but he's got Waller is off the track. Waller has lost it and into the grass.
Oh, heartbreaking for Waller after nearly flawless race. Loses his 4th position to Kyle Potts, who is now going to be promoted, and he's not close enough to be able to take any more, but Kyle Potts doing excellent after having an early mistake.
We were talking about that just a few minutes ago about Potty maybe having a chance to get himself up there, and certainly somebody made a mistake, and we just saw what happened.
Well, what an anticlimax that was. We were waiting for those 3 cars to have a great battle up to the end, and instead, Alex Palau has gapped Moda, although Moda's starting to reel him in, so it's not over yet. These 2 teammates could still be battling. I thought it was over. Moda might still have him, but we have to keep half an eye on Bruno Rossetto, who just exited the bus stop. so are two that we are watching right now, Moda and Bilal, the teammates. Moda does have the draft, so he is going to reel him in bit by bit. He might have the momentum. Meanwhile, ahead of him, let's switch to Bruno Rossetto. And I think, yes, there is the checkered flag. Bruno Rossetto, very clear, cruises across the line and comes to a crawl in celebration. Meanwhile, behind him, is it going to be Bilal? It's going to be Moda. Just snipes him at the end. Moda takes second place over his teammate who finishes the podium. And then Kyle Potts comes home for a well-deserved fourth after a great recovery drive. Derek Waller is going to be a ways down, actually, as Ruben Velasco is the next one by at the line. Clint Myers takes sixth. Wendell Parra comes back for seventh after a number of mistakes. Ricardo Inacio finishes in eighth. Derek Waller slips all the way to ninth and fourth on the last lap. Heartbreak for poor Derek Waller. Jonathan Scarallo comes across the line at 10th, and Matthew Thill rounds out the top 10. We still got a few more cars racing for position here down the line. Mark Robertson was able to gain a spot, or is he? He's got Joseph Anderson closing up behind him, but Anderson lets off, interestingly. Just behind them is John Kelly and Romer Alcala. John LaBath finishing in 16th. Then we've got Matt Malone. Number of guys stopping there, you can see. Lee McGovern also coming, and Lance Snyder, you can see on your screen with that damaged car, is the last one on the lead lap who is going to round us out. He's nowhere close to Lee McGovern, so I don't think he's going to take that spot before the line unless tragedy happens for poor Lee.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm feeling pretty bad for Derek Waller right now. That 99 machine was right there, had his eye on the podium, and then so quickly it just went away from him.
Goes to show that you can't lose focus in this series as we watch Lance complete his lap. We are going to go to break. Don't forget to send us any questions that you have at GSR channel. We are going to have interviews and the unofficial results, so don't go away. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. After round 3, we have our third winner of 3 races here in the VSRA, DIYSim.com American Road Tour. Bruno Rossetto took home the win. Anderson Moda came in second, followed by Alex Palau in third. Kyle Potts had a great run up to fourth, followed by Ruben Velasco making up for a poor qualifying and claiming a top 5. Clint Myers finished in sixth, followed by Wendell Parra, unfortunately not being able to take advantage of his pace and finishing in 7th. Ricardo Inacio finished in 8th, followed by Derek Waller after his unfortunate mistake on the last lap and finished 9th. Jonathan Scarallo rounds out the top 10, Ayrton.
Then in 11th was Matthew Thill, Mark Robertson in 12th, Joseph Anderson in 13th place, in 14th was John Kelly, in 15th was Romer Alcala, John LaBath in 16th, Matt Malone in 17th, Lee McGovern in 18th, Lance Snyder in 19th, and Patrick Nguyen in 20th. Sean?
Yeah, and as we move down the field here, Brian Shanahan a lap down in 21st, Hiro Kanaya in 22nd, and Jeremy Letty in 23rd, Michael Gorlowski in 24th, Marcio Arizona in 25th, in 26th, Donnie Leonard, and in 27th, Scott Power. 19 laps down, rounding out this field of 28 was Daniel Santos, who blew the motor going into turn 1 early on in this race.
And we have a few interviews. First, though, I want to congratulate Hiro Kanaya, who apparently had his highest finish of the season. So, Bill, if you're out there watching, take note. He had a very good run today. Let's first up talk to Bruno Rossetto. Bruno, congratulations. Your first win of the season. Hopefully, maybe there's more. Were you happy to see that you broke the draft early on? And do you think that was the key to the victory?
Oh, hello guys. First of all, good night everybody. Think of who watched the race. Was a very good one. And Kevin or Joe, you just got the secret. I just pulled out from the draft and I just be free to keep my pace. So I think that was the key for the win. Was a good race.
It certainly was a lights to flag finish for you. A great win. Do you like anything particularly special about this course? Because you seem to do much better here than in the previous 2 rounds.
Oh, thank you. I can say I practice a little bit more on this track than the other ones. So I came to the race more prepared. So I think this was the one of the keys. And the choice, the strategy to not change the tires was definitely one of the secrets too, because Alex Belal was just too close. If I change the tires, I could be lost the race.
Well, very smart decision, and once again, well done, and congratulations. Thanks for talking to us. Here's hoping that this helps you in the championship fight.
Oh yes, thank you everybody, and see you next race. Bye bye.
Up next, we have Kyle Potts, who we said had a great recovery drive, and Ayrton is going to talk to him.
Thanks, Joe. Well, congratulations, Kyle. You finally got your top 5 finish that you've long deserved.
Yeah, definitely. It was a lot different from last season. I was fighting a little more up at the top, but boy, I made us all look good on that first couple corners, didn't I? Woo, buddy! That was that was hilarious.
Yeah, speaking of, we saw that. I mean, you had a really good save into turn 1, but then also that mistake going into the hairpin as well. Can you kind of just talk about how that kind of affects you mentally when you make a mistake like that, drop down half the field, and how you have to like work yourself back up from such a bad mistake in the first lap?
Well, you know, it makes me angry because I know I can do better, and all I kept saying was I just need to stay in the draft. You can mess up a couple corners, but that draft will suck you right back up. But I think I kind of psyched myself out of it. So I guess angry driving is more my style. I took 2 front tires, so I could be a little more aggressive on the brakes. It was a lot different than last week. The second half of last week just was terrible on the brakes, but this worked out pretty good. I would have liked to not do what I did there. I guess I have a terrible time qualifying, and the first lap kind of gets to me, so maybe my nerves need a little working too.
Yeah, well, you had a really good comeback drive, and during that time, you're having a really good battle with Ricardo and Ignacio as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there in that little instant?
Well, I think either I was being a little aggressive or he was being a little aggressive. I thought we were doing pretty well. There was a couple little bumps here and there. That doesn't really bother me too much. I went on the outside, and my spotter said clear. I looked in my mirror, and he was behind me, so I figured he just gave it up. So I just kind of went for the apex, and apparently he had let off a little bit and was trying to keep right on me and just got into the back of me. I told him I was sorry about it, but you know, I had the race in line, so I took it.
Yeah, well, a good result for you. 4th place, a little bit far back from the leaders, but definitely a good run considering the circumstances of the race. So congratulations once again. Hope you can get a few more top 5s in the championship, maybe a win.
Oh, you'll see me up there.
Okay, thanks, Kyle.
Thanks,
back
guys.
to you, Joe.
I almost wonder if his fluorescent paint job maybe blinded some of the other drivers on his way up the field. Up last, we have John Kelly, who I'm pretty sure is going to get the Hard Charger Award, and Sean is going to talk to him.
Well, John, that was a pretty hard-earned race. 14th place finish there for you, having to come all the way from 28th. What's your strategy there? How do you manage to get through that many cars and get to where you were in the finish of this thing?
Thanks for broadcasting, guys. It's a strategy we've been doing in all these races. Basically, is pitting on the on lap 1, and then we don't have to fight it out with everybody. And the only problem is you run out of tires about the last 5 laps, which is kind of what happened to me.
Yeah, and so you said the last 5 laps. Was it an instant fall off, or was it something that happened kind of gradually? You knew it was coming?
No, with this setup, you can't feel it coming. It's you go into a corner and it won't slow down or it won't turn in, and you don't know till you turn the wheel or hit the brake pedal. And early on, if you do that, they'll cool back down. But if you later on, they they just won't come back.
Well, I've looked over the stats. It does look like you'll be our hard charger of the night. Good run for you. Anybody we want to thank tonight for this effort?
Nah, thanks to Scott and those guys for putting this on. It was a lot of fun racing with Matthew.
Well, John, hope things go well for you in the next race. We look forward to that, and we'll see you down the road, okay?
Thanks, guys, for your broadcast.
Thank you, John.
Well, finally, we have one more just real quick. We have Matthew Thill with us. And Matt, the thrill isn't totally gone, but still 11th place position seems a little bit lukewarm. Are you pleased with it?
Never pleased with when you're out of the top 10, when you qualify in the top 10. Seems like just a little bit different feel on the car right now, and I'm having a hard time grasping it. I unfortunately had a little bit of I don't know if it was an arrow spin or what with the close encounter in the International Horseshoe, but looped it around, and unfortunately that'll end your day when you lose that much ground, and track position is important. So unfortunately it isn't the finish I was looking for, especially after qualifying so promising up towards the front of the field.
Well, we're heading from a flat and very wide open track to a very technical and hilly track. How do you feel about Road Atlanta coming up?
Road Atlanta should be a good track for me. Lot of seat time on that course. So take these things one race at a time, and hope to break in the top 5 here very, very soon. But you got to think long term for the championship. And unfortunately, even though that spin hurt me today's race, it didn't hurt me too much in the overall picture for the championship. So just shooting for that top 10 overall, and we'll take it one race at a time.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for talking to us.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for broadcasting. We'll see you again next week. 2.
Yeah, we will see him in 2 weeks. Unfortunately, we got rid of him just a little bit too quick there. It looks like we want to thank some people before we go. Obviously, once again, huge thank you to DIYSim.com, the official sponsor of the American Road Tour. Definitely go check out their website. Also, thank you to the VSRA, the organizers of this league. Thanks to iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, and AverMedia. They are the software and hardware that we use to make this broadcast possible. Thanks to the team today, of course, Sean, Ayrton, and Kevin. We hope to see Bill back soon and his antics. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Thanks goes out to Doug Beard, who creates all the camera sets for this Global Sim Racing Channel, and a special thank you to Eric Ekholm, whose music is not only found here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and even Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Additional thanks to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with the music for our broadcast. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. And I have word from him, actually, that he is going to make an announcement, his next album, very soon. Our next race, as we mentioned, that is at Road Atlanta, Sunday, September 7th, 9 p.m. Eastern. Should be an interesting race for these guys. However, our next broadcast is going to be the ASRS at Mosport, Wednesday, August 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern. That'll be interesting with the trucks on a road course. Northwest Majors is up after that at Darlington, September 1st at 6 p.m. Pacific. Then we have the iSuper Speedway Series, at Talladega, September 5th at 10 p.m. Eastern. After that, the Blondie Series comes back at Circuit of the Americas, Saturday, September 6th at 6 p.m. UTC. And then, of course, don't forget the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series going to Indianapolis, Saturday, September 6th at 10:30 p.m. UTC. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.
Welcome to DIYSim.com, your source for your entire do-it-yourself simulator building experience. Whether your goal is to build a full-motion flight simulation cockpit with all 6 degrees of freedom, or find plans to build a full-motion racing simulation cockpit with anywhere from 1 degree of freedom all the way up to 6, DIY Sim has the products, plans, and resources to help you make it happen. Our DIY Sim brand is backed by one of the most innovative sim building organizations in the world. Simcraft creates driver, in-the-loop simulators with proper kinetics for motion simulation, a technology that is unique to Simcraft and which accurately recreates high-speed vehicle dynamics. Simcraft simulator systems enable drivers to develop and enhance their car control skills efficiently and effectively, any track, any car, any day, all day. DIYsim.com has it all. Please start and finish your sim building experiences with us.